Hi everybody, I thought I'd do a quick video to tell you more about me, what I'm about, who I am and how I got to where I am today. So my name is Olive O'Sullivan, I'm a registered nurse and midwife. I am a married mom of 2 adult boys now, and I'm the owner of BrowtiqueCork, which is my business in Clonakilty, and I own that for the last 8 years. I'm a registered nurse and midwife, as you know, and I have been for over 39 years. 30 of those years were hospital based, and 10 of those years then was in obstetric theatres. And 6 after, once I left hospital based nursing, I became a clinical nurse in a fertility unit in Cork City. So I became a registered nurse. I did my training, started at 17 years of age, imagine, in Barrington's Hospital in Limerick. We used to be hospital-based training back in the day. Once I finished my training there, I moved on to, we were left go. So I ended up moving on to a hospital in Youghal, which was a mentally handicapped and psychiatric hospital in Youghal called St. Raphael's, and I worked there for 9 months maybe on the sick ward, female sick ward, and then I moved from there to the UK to do my midwifery, whereby I went to Barking, the east end of London, and did my midwifery there. So our training there was 18 months for midwifery, but we gave them a year's service back as a staff midwife. I moved from there then on to Australia and worked as a registered nurse in Sydney in Australia for 4 years, and I took out Australian citizenship while I was there. Came back to Ireland then and ended up getting work in the Bonsacrow Hospital on College Road in Cork and the lay ward, and I was there for nearly 11 years. So once I became pregnant with my first son, then I left hospital-based nursing. I hated hospital-based nursing. I became a clinical nurse in a fertility unit and obstetric unit in Cork City. A very well-known fertility expert in Cork. So I worked as his private practice midwife for nearly 6 years, and then gave it all up then to become a stay-at-home mum. So I was always a nurse. I just didn't like hospital life. I hated night duty. I didn't like weekends. I couldn't sleep when I was on night duty, and I crashed many a car. So in 2000, I think the year 2000, it was at the turn of the millennium, that I gave up all nursing to become a stay-at-home mom. So as a stay-at-home mom then, I sort of got itchy feet. While the kids were at school, I was kind of at a bit of a loss, and I couldn't manage to get part-time work. So one of the things that you'll have to say about nurses is that we are very innovative. We know what it is to improvise, and I did a training in brow artistry, which I used to do for my conservatory at home. I also used to do, I was a nail technician also, so I was all the time learning new little things. But what I had noticed over the years is when I did my brow artistry course, and this is well before the whole HD brow thing came in, is that people were coming for eyebrow styling. I used to do it by threading, and I had done the brow artistry course, as I say, but people were starting to come to me with no brows at all, and I remember thinking, oh my gosh, wouldn't it be absolutely wonderful for somebody to have a nice tattoo on their eyebrows whereby it looked fairly realistic. And guess what? 10 years ago, microblading came to the West, and 8 years ago I trained up in that. And then I was able to marry my nursing and my my microblading together then, because chemotherapy was starting to change a bit, and everybody was expecting to lose their head hair, but very few people were actually expecting to lose their brow hair. And they used to lose their brow hair back in the past, but because there was some changes made, UCC is the leaders in a lot of chemotherapy. So we had noticed that in Munster, people, yes, they expected to lose their head hair. Very few people were actually starting to lose their brow hair. and I was a registered nurse, so therefore it seemed the most natural thing in the world that safely that clients would be able to come to me for their eyebrows after they finished chemotherapy. And then things changed again because the oncologists started to hear about me, and they then started to recommend that the clients have their eyebrows tattooed before they start chemotherapy. Therefore, when they lose their eyebrow hair, there is an imprint of what they are, their eyebrows once looked like. So that was absolutely fabulous, and that is how, that is how BrowtiqueCork was born, I suppose, really, and it changed its direction. And now the oncologists permit me to do microblading during chemotherapy as well, because they know that I will ask them a 7-page questionnaire and that I will not go ahead unless there is that I'm 100% happy that the client can actually have it. And with younger clients now, people who would have extra work like egg harvesting or platelet transplants or bone marrow transplant and so on, they permit me to do the microblading in a time appropriate way. Okay, who are my clients? 80% of my clients would be cancer chemotherapy, and that is because of the recommendations of the oncologists, and that seems to be the most natural thing. However, it seems to be a misconception that you can only come to me if you actually have cancer or if you have had chemotherapy. We don't turn any brows away, not one brow away. We deal with people who have trichotillomania, that is people who incessantly pull out their eyebrow hairs, sometimes their lashes and the front of their fringe as well. I do people who have overplucked their brows in the past, which a lot of people did in the 80s and 90s. I do people who've got hormone imbalances, that would be post-menopausal brows. You know, everything sort of goes bad once you hit menopause. Thyroid issues, postnatal brows, because that's another hormone imbalance as well. So we don't turn any brows away, and I really want to get that message out there. We do all brows. All brows are welcome here in BrowtiqueCork. Okay, who do I not treat? Okay, anybody who is pregnant, we do not treat. Anybody who is breastfeeding, we do not treat. Now, the data is not telling us that we cannot do pregnancy and breastfeeding. No, the data is telling us that no, the data doesn't tell us that we can do pregnancy or breastfeeding. Our insurance won't allow us anyway for starters, but there's no data to say that it's safe. So therefore, sorry, we have to exclude you. Anybody who is on blood thinners, we need to find out what blood thinner you're on. Aspirin we can manage, but any of the others, heparin or warfarin, absolutely out of the question. You are cannot have eyebrow microblading done. And there are certain people then that we can do, but we have to be very cautious. Like, for example, people who've got heart murmurs, heart stents, heart surgery and so on, they need to have an antibiotic cover. Insulin-dependent diabetics and so on. So when you actually get in touch with us, we actually send out a criteria in advance to make sure that you fit into the criteria. And then when you do eventually come to us to have the microblading done, there is a 7-page questionnaire that is actually discussed with you so that we can see that you are safe to go ahead and have the microblading done. Because we don't want to place you in any danger. And as a registered nurse, I have to execute due diligence. That is one of the things that we do as a registered nurse. We certainly don't want to cause any harm, and we're there to support you. But you know, the one thing about microblading and the tattoo industry here in Ireland in general is that it is unregulated. It is still unregulated. I'll talk about this another day, but we've had to become our own regulators here at Browtique. The standard is very high. We do execute due diligence. We do know what sterility, cross-contamination and pathology is all about. I did work in obstetric theatres after all for 10 years. But I've seen some most awful practices out there from other technicians, and this is a campaign of mine at the moment. I've been on to the Department of Health to get the tattoo industry regulated. There are practitioners out there who are putting people's lives in danger, and it's not because they are deliberately doing it, it's because they don't have the education. And I've just, you know, I've seen some awful things, like there's no detailed history done. There is microblading is being done, which has compromised people who are having chemotherapy. And it's very important to be buyer beware, to be honest, and to do your research. It's not regulated. It still hasn't been regulated. I've been on this campaign for the last year. They tell me that it is going to be regulated soon, but clearly there's lots of other things that are, you know, far more important to the Department of Health than the regulation of the tattoo industry. So please be very cautious, be very aware, do your research. Go and see, have a consultation with your brow artist or the person who's going to do your microblading. We invite all our clients to come for a consultation if they're any way hesitant at all. And the thing about it is, it's you're interviewing us. So you are interviewing us to see if you are going to hire us. So I hope that helps in relation to you finding out about me and what I'm all about. I'm going to be doing lots and lots and lots of more IGTV and YouTube videos so that people can see what we're all about. I am a one-woman show. I work alone. I have a secretary to take care of calls and emails and set up appointments and so on. So the person that you will get here in BrowtiqueCork is me, Olive O'Sullivan. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us on BrowtiqueCork@gmail.com, or go onto the website, which is BrowtiqueCork.com, or you can actually call us, which is 021 419 3011. Now that is a Cork number, but it actually diverts to us here in Clonakilty. So I hope that helps. Okay.